morning, students. Okay, I'm here again, your Sachin sir. We are going to discuss another problem of final account. Since till now we have solved 3 to 4 problems of final accounts without adjustments, and by solving a problem one by one, we are getting some newer items that arises bit confusion among these students and all that, how to post those items. So I would like to give a short hint regarding that, since I have explained a lot of things regarding the format, specimens, solution individually of the financial statements. Apart from that, still students are facing problems regarding posting of the items to which financial statement it should be posted. There a little bit of dilemma arises here regarding that. Okay, so I would like to give a short hint regarding that. Okay, see, when we are posting items in the financial statements, we are having the base in the question as trial balance. What do we have? Trial balance. And you know what trial balance is? Trial balance is a summarized statement, okay, where you post the closing balances of your all ledger accounts that may be related to expenses, that may be related to income, that may be related to profit, loss, assets, liabilities, etc. Okay, so see, till now we haven't solved problems related to adjustments except closing stock. So closing stock is the only item in this chapter that happens to be an adjustment, as I told you earlier, and you have seen where we have solved many problems and the closing stock is taken to be as the adjustment. So I have told you what does the term adjustment means. Adjustment means those items or the transactions that are completely omitted from the book of accounts. Okay, the transactions that are completely omitted from the book of accounts are called as adjustments. So if transactions are not posted initially, so double entry effect is not followed on those items. That is why that items are given as footnotes outside the trial balance, and when you make treatment to those adjustments, you take those items to any two financial statements only because of fulfillment of double entry effect or dual aspect concept. Okay, but those transactions or the item that you find inside the trial balance, definitely those items or the transactions are journalized in ledger, journalized and posted to ledger. First of all, you identify those transactions, then you journalize them, and then you post it into ledger. Then the next task is you take the closing or the brought down balances of those ledger accounts to your trial balance, depending upon the nature, debit balance or credit balance, and the total tallies. If the total of the trial balance, that is the debit total and the credit total, does not tally, then you again make a cross check regarding the transactions posted, whether you have made mistake in the journal or ledger. If the trial balance is correct, you move on further. So that move on further is the preparation of the financial statements. But the thing is that the items that are given inside trial balance, that items are already recorded in the book of account. So now the thing is, we should know that the items appearing in trial balance are taken to only one financial statement. Please listen carefully. The items that are given inside trial balance are taken to only one financial statement. That may be trading account, that may be profit and loss account, or that may be balance sheet. Okay, so the items are posted once only, but adjustments are not those items that are posted twice or any two financial statements. So it is clear that the items that are appearing in trial balance are posted once only. That may be any financial statement, that means trading, profit and loss or balance sheet. Now the thing is, how do we post these items to financial statement? See, I have already told you how to post item to trial balance. You have to make a proper categorization of all the business transactions into 6 categories. Okay, I told you that. Okay, so those 6 categories you have to analyze now also when you are transferring the items of the trial balance to their respective financial statements. Okay, whenever you are posting the items of the trial balance to the respective financial statements, consider it in your mind whether that item is an expenses, whether that item is an income, or it depends to profit or loss or assets or liabilities. So the thing is, on the whole, is all the transactions or all the items that are appearing inside trial balance, make a proper categorization into 6 categories. What are those 6 categories that you used to follow before preparing trial balance? Same you have to follow also while posting the items from the trial balance to financial statement. So what are those 6 categories? That are expenses, incomes, profit, loss, assets, liabilities. Okay, so these are the 6 categories or the items that will make classification for the items that are appearing in trial balance. When you get the items in the trial balance, first of all, consider or think into your mind that whether it is expense or income, profit, loss, assets or liabilities. So got it? These are the 6 categories that are required to transfer the items of the trial balance to any of the 3 financial statements. Now, the thing is, what does the difference make when we prepare trial balance and when we transfer the item to the trial balance from trial balance to final account? The difference is that when you find or the categorization of the items is done, you have to see that if it is an expenses, the item that are appearing in trial balance, if it is an expense, what kind of expense it is. If it is a direct expense related to production or factory works, then you have to take it to debit side of trading account. And if it is a indirect expense, means not related to factory but related for office works, then you have to take it to debit side of profit and loss account, means it is an indirect expense. And if you find the item in the trial balance as income, so as you know, income are of 2 types, direct income and indirect income. Classification of income rather than expenses is quite easier because there is only one direct income appearing in our book of account, that is your sales or the revenues that are generated during the accounting year. So very easy, sales is the only direct income that you take to the credit side of trading account, and the other income that are not related to production work or the incomes other than sales are called as indirect income, and you take it to the credit side of profit and loss account. Okay, now the 2 more items that are left is assets and liabilities. See, if there is an asset, you have to take to the asset side of balance sheet, and if it is a liability, you have to take to the liability side of balance sheet. And I have also told you while the preparation of balance sheet or in the video of specimen of balance sheet, you should make a proper categorization of the assets and liabilities for your better understanding and for precise presentation. If you don't categorize also, that doesn't matter or bother, you will get the final answer correct if you have posted from initially in the correct manner and in proper calculation or proper consideration. Okay, so now the thing is, if you find it as an item as the asset, take to the asset side of balance sheet. If you want, you can categorize that as fixed asset or current asset or fixed asset or intangible asset. But if you find the item as a liability, you take it to the liability side of balance sheet after categorization as fixed liability, current liability or fictitious liability. So this is what the way to transfer the items of the trial balance to your respective financial statement. Always find whether it is an expenses, what kind of expenses. If it is an income, what kind of income. If it is an asset, what kind of asset. If it is a liability, then what kind of liability. Only after those proper categorizations and classifications, you will be able to make a precise presentation of the financial statement and a proper transfer of the items of the trial balance to the respective financial statement. So this is all about posting of the items to financial statement through trial balance taking as the base. So now, without wasting any time, we will follow the next question. So today we are going to solve question number 15 of the same book, your double entry bookkeeping, Kalyani Publishers. Okay, so without wasting any time, so see, I have made the format of trading and profit and loss account and balance sheet as given in the question. The date or the final accounting year is given is 31st March 2009. So I have taken trading and profit and loss account for the year ended 31st March 2009 and balance sheet as on 31st March 2009. As you know, the income statements are written as for the year ended and the position statement or balance sheet is always prepared at a fixed date, so it is written as on the given date. So let us solve the question number 15. Okay, and prepare a trading account, profit and loss account and balance sheet. Okay, so now we start post the items. First item given is stock on 1st April 2008, and as you know, stock on the beginning of the year is called as opening stock, so it goes to trading account debit side. Okay, to opening stock. So opening stock given is 96,000. The next item given is wages. So see, wages is an expenses. Now find out what kind of expense wages is. Wages is a direct expense. How? Wages is paid to the workers. Workers work in the factory. So factory related expenses are direct expenses. So we'll post it into the debit side of trading account. Okay. So as you know, we shall leave some space for purchases. To wages. Wages given is 28,000. The next item is salaries, and salaries again an expenses, but this is paid to employees, and employees work in the office. So office related expenses are indirect expenses. So salaries will be taken to profit and loss account. Okay, I'm marking just for make a classification between trading and profit and loss. So after leaving a space for posting of any profit or loss that arises after closing trading account. Okay, so I'm writing here to salaries. So salaries given is 4,000. The next item given is railway freight on purchases. So see, railway freight on purchases means any expenses made on purchases is always taken to be direct expenses. So railway freight is also a direct expense. So we'll write here to freight on purchase. If you want, you can write. Otherwise, it's okay. So freight given is 5,000. The next item is purchases. Okay. So see, since we have lesser space left here, so if there is any return for the purchases, we'll post on the opposite side. And you know, posting on the opposite side or making a deduction is the same thing. Okay. So purchases given is 1,20,000. Okay. So the next is interest on overdraft. So interest on overdraft is an expenses, and you know what is overdraft? Overdraft is a facility provided by bank to its renowned or regular customers, where a customer or a businessman can withdraw over his existing balance, and bank allows some facility for his benefit only, for its benefit. So bank charges some interest on those overdraft facility. So it is no way related to production. It is a indirect expense. So we write in profit and loss account to interest on overdraft. So interest on overdraft given is 200 rupees. The next is cash at bank. Cash at bank is a current asset, means bank balance. Okay. So it is a current asset. We will be writing here. So cash at bank given in the question is 1,800. Okay. Next item given is building. So buildings are the fixed asset because these are the long-term properties. So as you know, we are making a categorization for posting of the assets and liabilities. Okay. Buildings. So buildings are worth 11,000 given in the question. Next item is sales return. So if there will be sales, definitely there will be sales return. So we haven't come across the item sales. So I am leaving space over here and I am writing here less returns. So sales return amount given is 1,000. Okay. The next item is sundry debtors, and as you know, sundry debtors are assets. What kind of asset? Current assets. We will post here. So debtors are given as 35,000. Next item is office expenses. The name says office expenses, means indirect expenses. So we will write here to office expenses. So office expenses are worth 5,500. The next item is drawings. So drawings are always derived from capital. So we haven't come across capital now. So just we will write here. So capital comes under the category fixed liability, which we have made mistake in our last video. We haven't categorized. So now we will do that. Fixed liability. Under fixed liability, capital is the first item. When we will come across this item, we will post in the column. Now we will write just drawings. Okay, so the value of drawings given is 6,500. Next item is depreciation. So depreciation is an expenses. What kind of expense? It is a non-cash expense. Means the reduction value of the fixed assets are called as depreciation due to use and passage of time. So no way related to production activities. So definitely depreciation is a indirect expense. So we'll write here in the profit and loss account. So depreciation given is 2000. And mind you, depreciation is charged on the fixed asset only. Next item is rent. See, rent is definitely an expenses because given in the debit balance part. So according to the nominal account balances, debit means expense and losses, credit means income and gains. So definitely rent is an expense. Now the question arises, it should be taken as direct expense or indirect expense. In the absence of any information, I have told you that any sort of expenses other than carriages, okay, any sort of expenses other than carriages to be taken as indirect expense. Why carriages is taken as direct expense? Because carriages is made on purchases. Selling expenses may be made or may not be made. So we cannot go on assumptions. But here, unless the expenses are mentioned that is made for the factory purposes, you should take all the expenses as indirect expense only. So rent is an indirect expense. We will write under profit and loss account. So rent given is 2400. Moving on to next page, more debit balances are there. Plant and machinery. So plant and machinery is again fixed asset. Okay. Plant and machinery is given for 18,000. Next is travelling expenses. So definitely this is an indirect expense and it will be posted to profit and loss account. To travelling expenses. So travelling expenses are given 5,000 rupees. Next is repairs to plant. Again, repairs to plant is a indirect expense. To repairs. Repairs is given for 1,600. Then the last debit item balance according to the trial balance in the question is cash in hand. So since cash at bank current asset, cash balance in hand also is a current asset. So cash in hand given is 200. So moving on to our credit balances. The first credit balance given in the question is capital. So capital given is 50,000. We have already mentioned here. So just we will write the amount. Capital is 50,000. Next is loan from bank. Again, loan from bank is fixed liability only. So we will write here giving sufficient space. Loan from bank. So 9,000 is given loan from bank. The next item is sales. So already mentioned sales as the direct income. So sales given is 2,50,000. Okay, and returns is already written here. So we will subtract the return amount that we get 2,49,000. Okay, so sales was given 2,50,000 and return is 1,000. So we got 2,49,000. The next item is discount on purchases. See, when discount on purchase and discount on sales, it is not like that the discount is a expense and on purchase means it is a direct expense. Always think what it is speaking about. Discount on purchase. That means when you purchase goods, you get discount. Means discount is allowed by your trader. So this discount is not an expense but it is an income. What kind of income? Indirect income. It is made on purchases means it is not a direct income because it is nowhere related to production activity. So discount on purchase is not an expenses but income. What kind of income? It is a indirect income. So we will write here by discount on purchases. So discount is given as 4,000 rupees. Next we have is sundry creditors. So sundry creditors are current liabilities. So sundry creditors are given as 23,700. Next is purchase return, and as I told you earlier, we haven't left any space for purchases here. Purchase return for the deduction purpose, we will mention purchase return over here. Okay, in the opposite side. So I will write here by purchase return. So returns for the purchases are given as 1,500. Now the next or the last item that is given is reserve for doubtful debt. See, all the postings for the questions are over except closing stock. Okay, the last credit balance or the last item of the trial balance is reserve for doubtful debt. Now see, as I told you, always you have to identify whether that item is a expense, income, asset, liability. So reserve for doubtful debt means, see, debt comes from the debtors. Okay, debt comes from the debtors. Now the thing is, provision or reserve are the possibilities. Provision or reserves are the possibilities that there may be some losses. You know bad debt. So what is bad debt? Bad debt means the amount of debt that cannot be recovered. Cannot be recovered from whom? From the debtors. So similarly, if we have a possibility or if we feel by the product forecasting or the prediction that in the next year or in the coming year at the end we will be having some losses in the form of bad debt. So according to convention of conservatism, you know there are some contingent liabilities. So these reserves and provisions are the contingent liabilities. And as you know, the contingent liabilities are never shown in the balance sheet in the head of liability as per the rule. They are just shown in the as a form of footnotes, or they are shown by way of deduction from particular assets. When we discuss the format or the specimen of balance sheet, I told you the contingent liabilities are the liabilities that exist because of convention of conservatism. Okay, because we haven't seen the future. So all those uncertainties that may take place, we are preparing for those uncertainties. So those liabilities arising out of convention of conservatism are called as the contingent liabilities, and these liabilities, since not certain, are not shown in the balance sheet. If see there is an asset or liability that are not certain, that may take place or not, how can you show that as an asset or liability? Because that is not certain, no? Okay, so contingent liabilities are also uncertain. And how can you treat this? These liabilities can be shown in your book of account or balance sheet by way of deduction from the concerned asset to which it relates. Now see, doubtful debt or bad debt, it relates to whom? The debt creators or the debt takers. Who are the debt takers in the business? Debtors. So the reserve for doubtful debt related to debtors. See, we are having sundry debtors, so debt comes from the debtors only now. So these are related to debtors, means we may have some losses in the form of bad debt, so we should be prepared for those losses in the form of reserve or provision. So the reserve or provisions are just the possibilities, but these are uncertain, so we cannot post these contingent liabilities in the balance sheet, but we can treat it by way of deduction from the concerned asset to which it relates. So to which asset does it relate, or this contingent liability relates? To the current asset. Now to which item of current asset does this contingent liability relate? That is the debtors. So now the treatment of reserve for doubtful debt should be made once only, because it is appearing in the trial balance. But since it is a contingent liability, it cannot be shown in the balance sheet because it is not a certain item. So we cannot post this in the liability side, but it can be treated by showing as the deduction from the concerned asset. So to which asset does it belong? To sundry debtors. So we have already posted sundry debtors. I have made a mistake for that because I haven't read the question yet. It is very important that you should read the questions, and if you find such item, then you should deduct it from the debtors. See, if I post this item under the head contingent liability in the balance sheet, you will get the answer correct. That does not matter. But we should follow the rules or the concepts that are furnished by the AICPA. Okay, if you avoid these rules or we violate those rules, So what is the matter of solving these problems? Okay, the chronological order, dual aspect concept, matching concept, we are required to follow or abide by the rules and regulations framed by the AICPA. So now it's no problem if we erase it and subtract. Always remember, when you find a item like provision or reserve for doubtful debt or bad debt, always subtract those contingent liabilities from the concerned asset. Never treat it in the liability side of balance sheet, because I told you the reason. Being a liability, it is not shown in the liability side of balance sheet because it is not certain, may take place or may not take place. So till then, to which asset does it belong? It will be made deduction from those assets. Okay. So we will subtract the debtor amount over here. Okay. And we'll write the cash in hand later on. Okay. So debtors were given as 35,000. So I will write it in inner column 35,000. Now we have to make deduction, that is reserve for doubtful debt, to be posted once since the item is appearing inside trial balance. So I will write here reserve for doubtful debts. Okay, so the amount that is given as reserve for doubtful debt is 5,000. Okay, so when we subtract, we get we get 30,000 as the final balance of the debtors. Always remember, whenever you find the items like provision or reserve, never treat it in the liability side, because it is by nature is a liability. But those liabilities are uncertain, so we cannot say that it is a particular type of liability and we can post in the liability to balance it. Always make those reserves or provision as a deduction from the concerned asset to which it belongs. Okay, so it was related to debtors, I subtracted from the debtors. Okay, so 35,000 was the debtor amount and the reserve for bad debt is 5,000. So I have subtracted and got the final amount, that is 30,000. And since we erased the cash in hand, we will write again it cash in hand. So the value of cash in hand that was given was 200 rupees. Okay, so posting of all the items are over except closing stock, and as you know, closing stock given outside trial balance means it is an adjustment and will be posted to two financial statements. So first of all, it will go to the credit side of trading account by closing stock. The value of closing stock given is 35,000. And the second posting is to be done is under the current asset. It is always required to see whether you are posting or the writing the values correct or not, because if you make any mistake, again you have to make a cross check, that will be very cumbersome and time consuming. Okay. So these are all the items that are posted, and see other types of liabilities are not there. I am just writing over here. We'll make a hyphen, as you know we are doing it earlier. So there is no 50 days liability. Same, there is no 50 days asset. Even if these assets and liabilities does not occur, just make a categorization and leave a hyphen. Okay. So see, posting of all the items given in your question is over. Now we will make the final part, that is the calculation part, and we will check whether the answer that is given in the question we are getting or not. Okay. So first of all, we will close the trading account. See, this is the debit side and this is the credit side, and see, debit side is item of 1 lakh, and after that there is no bigger item, and here the item is having 2,50,000. So definitely the credit side is more than the debit side. We can blindly put the total amount of the credit side as the highest total. Okay. So this total comes here is 5,110. So this total comes 2,85,500. So as per the matching concept rule, we will put the highest total in both the sides, 2,85,500. Okay. So see, again we can check that 2,50,000, 2,50,000. Okay, so the total comes correct. If you want, you can make calculation in your rough areas. I don't have any rough area here, so I am making calculation here and rubbing it. Okay, so make this calculation of the totalings or the subtractions in your rough areas properly. Okay, so we got the highest total as the credit total. Okay, now we will subtract it from the debit side, that is your expenses side. So since we are getting the highest total in the credit side, we will be getting the gross profit. Okay. So let us take a total of the debit side roughly here. So this is 6, 8, 14, 5, 9, 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 9, 14, 1, 1, 2. Okay, so we are getting, see, the total of the debit side is 2,49,000, and when we subtract this 2,85,500 from 2,49,000, we are getting answer as this two total. See, it is very easy. The total of the debit side is 2,49,000, as you can see here, and the only sales amount is 2,49,000. So can we say without subtraction the totaling of these two is the gross profit? If you have doubt, you can calculate the all total of this minus this, we get the total of this. Okay, that is 35,000 plus 1,500 is 36,500. If it makes you confusion, not to worry, subtract this total minus this amount, so you get the answer as 36,500. Okay, now let us check whether we are getting the gross profit correct or not. Okay, the answer given in the question is correct, and we have made the calculation properly. So likewise we have to do for the profit and loss account also. So this is the gross profit that we have got. So I am putting here by gross profit brought down. So gross profit is 36,500. So see, now the value of the totaling of the credit side looks much higher than the debit side. See, the items are more, but the totaling of these items are not more than the credit side. Since you will be having confusion that how I am telling, it is just because of the experience. If you want, you can make calculation that the credit total of the profit and loss account is more than the debit total. Okay, so I am putting the credit total as the highest total as per the rule in both these sides. So this total comes about 40,500. Okay, this total comes out 40,500. Now we have to make the calculation on the debit side. Since the credit side is more than the debit side, definitely we are having here profit. So I will write here profit. Later on we will make calculation to net profit transferred to balance sheet. Okay, it is little bit down, so handwriting comes as a problem. Okay, so now we will calculate. Okay, so I have written here to net profit transferred to balance sheet. Now we will calculate the debit total. Okay, so it is 0, 6, 4, 10, 2, 12, 5, 17, 1, 2, 5, 7, 2, 9, 2, 11, 5, 16, 4, 20. We'll check again. 4,000, 5,000, 9,700, 11,700, 13,700, 18,700, 19,700. So 20,700. Okay, the total of the debit side of the profit and loss account comes 20,700, and we have the highest total in the credit side, that is 40,500. So we have to subtract this 40,500 to 20,700 in order to get the answer. So let us see whether we are getting the correct answer or not. 15, 7, 8. It is 9, 3, 2, 1. So we are getting 19,800. Let us see whether we are getting the correct answer. Yes, the answer given in the net profit is correct. So the highest total is 40,500 and the debit side total is 20,700. And when we subtract these two, we get 19,800. And according to book of the answer is correct. So net profit that we got here is 19,800. Okay, so now we can take it to our balance sheet. So it is advisable to you that make this calculation in the rough areas properly by checking again and again. Okay, since I am solving in on a regular basis, so with experience I can count it verbally only, but it is not as advisable for you to do so. Okay, if you avoid calculator, it is much better. Okay, so make the calculation properly. So we got the net profit and the gross profit correct. Now we'll take this net profit to balance sheet. Okay, so we'll write here. Since net profit are added to capital, we'll write here net profit brought forward. Okay, so the net profit amount is 19,800. So see, as you can see here, capital is 50,000 and we have drawings is 6,500. So we have to subtract the drawings. After subtracting drawings, we get 43,500. Okay, so 510, 154. Okay, so we have to subtract the drawings. After subtracting 50,000 from drawings 6,500, we got 43,500. And since according to the solution till now we got gross profit and net profit subsequently, we will add the net profit to our adjusted capital amount. So that is 19,800. 5, 13, 1, 13, 1, 2, 4, 6. So see, we are getting the adjusted capital amount as 63,300. This is 43,500, and I have added the profit amount, that is net profit amount 19,800 to it, and I got 63,300. If you want, you can make a proper calculation. Again, always do calculation twice to thrice to check whether, to see whether the amount you got is correct. Okay, if you don't make any mistake, if you commit any mistake over here, you will get the amount total as wrong and the balance sheet will not tally. Okay. So we got 63,300. We will write it as a precisely. So the adjusted capital that we got is 63,300. Okay. So the final work is the totaling of the liabilities and the assets and see whether the total matches or not. Okay, so this is the final part. So let us see what is the value that we get. This is 3, 7, 10, 1, 9, 10, so 73, 76, 96,000. So we get the total of the liability side of the balance sheet is 96,000. So before going to the calculation of the total of the asset side, let us check whether we got the answer correct or not. Okay. So by grace we got the correct answer of the total of the balance sheet, but the work is not over yet. The total of the liability side is correct, 96,000. Now let us check the total of the asset side comes or not. Okay. Because that depends upon the postings. Okay. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, 16, 4, 3, 7, 8, 9. So students, we have got the asset side also correct, that is 96,000. So as I told you, if we get the gross profit correct and the net profit correct, so definitely we will be getting the correct answer in the balance sheet and it will be tally. But if you make any adjustment wrong, like I have left one adjustment here, if you make here mistake, or if you make any mistake like the calculation of the adjusted capital, then definitely your balance sheet will not tally, even if you get the gross profit and the net profit correct. Okay, so always solve the problem by watching the items properly, that whether you have posted this or not. Okay, then only go for calculation and make the calculation in rough area twice or thrice to check whether you have committed any mistake in these areas or not. If you have committed any mistake, so if you don't check properly, you will find the problem here. And if the problem arises here in the totaling does not tally, then again you have to check from here. Okay, so it is better that you check proper while calculation or the segregation parts. Okay, so this is what the question number, we have solved the question number 15. Sorry, I haven't mentioned here. This is the question number 15 of your book, double entry bookkeeping. Okay, I will send this question in your group. If you have any doubt, you can ask. First of all, see the question carefully, understand it, then watch the video. Then only you can understand what I am writing over here. Okay, thank you.